It's my time, it's my season, and I've got a good reason to open my mouth. Gonna let it out, open your mind, grab your friend, hope you listen to the end. The vibe is good and learning meets on She Who Speaks. Hi, welcome to another episode of She Who Speaks. I'm Renee, lover of a good laugh and all things behavioral. With me is Marilyn. She's unassuming with a good listening ear and love Min, an unstoppable force with an angelic voice. Our guest of honor today is Kellee. She is a social worker and she has an amazing testimony that we cannot wait to share with you. I want to warn you, this episode is going to be very many things. It's going to be empowering, it's going to be surprising, and there are also going to be some things that are hard to hear and filled with empathy, compassion. There are so many heroes walking around us, so many people who have been through so many powerful things. Today, you will have an opportunity to meet one such person. This is Kellee's story.
My name is Kellee Whonder. I would like to talk to you about my journey and how I got where I am right now. It was not an easy journey. I was diagnosed with lupus around 18 years old. At first I had a lot of body aches. No one could figure out what it was. They said it was mixed connective tissue disease, and it turned out to be lupus. My lupus was pretty controlled. I didn't have any issues. I wasn't really hospitalized all throughout my 20s. I did pretty well. And then around 2012, I found out that I had kidney disease, lupus nephritis. My lupus was now starting to attack my kidneys. I was still doing well. There was no talk of dialysis. There was no concern really about my health and my kidneys. I was still doing well. Then in 2018, I got married. I found out I was pregnant about a month after we got married. The pregnancy was difficult. I think that's when my lupus started to really flare up. My blood pressure was always high, and I found out that my baby was underweight. She was born 24 weeks early. She was born February 14th, 2019, Valentine's Day. She remained in the NICU for 9 months and passed away in December 3rd, 2019. Throughout her stay at the NICU, I started to struggle with my own health issues. They took her out of me because my kidney numbers were through the roof. My creatinine was going up, and they told me that there was C-section right away. But my kidneys never got better, even after she came out. In about August 22nd, 2019, I had 2 seizures Saturday morning at my house. I went to the hospital. I found out it was because my blood pressure was, 100 something over 200. 2 seizures. That's when I started dialysis. I started hemodialysis on that hospitalization. And then I switched to peritoneal dialysis at home, which I did right into 2020. Then it was time to look for a donor, and I talked to my parents, my family, and it turned out that both my parents were a match. We decided to go with my mom, and my mom donated her kidney to me on October 5th, 2020. And here I am today, loving my new life, and I thank God every day because, to be honest, 3 to 5 minutes is not long enough to explain to you how good God has been to me, how he has brought me through every medical issue that I've had, and allowed me to have a perfectly good kidney. Not a kidney from someone who's passed away, but a whole, beautifully well-working kidney from someone who has no medical issues. So I'm very blessed and I'm very happy. And on this Sabbath morning, I just want to thank God for everything that he's done for me, because every time I felt like it was so bad, I would cry, I would be upset, I get angry. I never stayed angry and sad for too long, because I knew there was hope. I knew there was a better future. I knew that God was going to pull me through. And no matter what I went through, it could always have been worse. I could have been stuck on dialysis for a long time. There's many reasons why people stay on dialysis for the rest of their lives. And yet I was fortunate to be blessed with a kidney. I was fortunate to be blessed to even have carried a child. Now the story of will I be able to have a child? That's another question. My husband and I may not be able to. I might not be able to carry my own child, but my husband and I are looking into either surrogacy or adoption. But needless to say, I am blessed. I'm alive. I'm well, and I just want to thank God for his mercies. So thank you. Thank you for listening. And I hope that it blesses someone somewhere.
Kellee, I guess the question on everybody's mind is how are you? How are you health wise right now?
Well, right now, I feel good. Health wise, according to the doctors, my labs look good. Um,
Amen.
everything that, like, from my hemoglobin to just my energy level is where it's supposed to be.
That's amazing.
I've had to. I mean, for for me, I've always suffered with fatigue, always being tired and not able to go up, go on long walks. So now I can do all that, and it's something I guess we all take for granted, but I feel great right now. So I'm happy about that.
That's awesome. We're happy to hear that.
When I heard your story, many things came up because in my family, my little sister has lupus as well.
Okay.
And I remember the impact that it had on our family. It changed a lot, our family dynamic. Hers is located in her liver.
Okay.
So she was hospitalized for a long time. We went through, they could not understand what was going on, but God's grace right now, she's it's more control. We're aware of what we're supposed to do. But something when I heard your story and that was a challenge that I had and it's a question that I asked my sister. Tell me about your perception of God during that process, because you were a young girl. You were at the age you're supposed to live your best life.
Yeah.
And here you are going through that journey. And I heard your encouragement at the end and how you say how you feel good, but I'm interested in the journey. So,
Okay. It's so much to say about that, because like your sister, when you first diagnosed, they don't know what's going on. And then I lived through this life where my lupus was controlled and I was fine. And as you can say, I had fun. I did live my best life as much as I could. Everything changed after I got pregnant. I didn't have before my pregnancy, I didn't have any obvious scars, you really couldn't tell I was sick. My doctors, they spread out my appointments so far because I really didn't have a reason to come in so much. So, I guess one of the biggest things they did focus on was my kidneys. But even then, no problems. We were working well. It's just that once I got pregnant, everything it just blew up. Yeah. My body I don't know, it just took a turn for the worst. My perception of God in that time, I think he used that point in my life to help me realize just how powerful he was. Once I was diagnosed once was pregnant and I kept getting I would get hospitalized twice a month, missing work. There was just so much that I was going on in my head, am I going to lose my job? I got pregnant when I just started work. I just started work at the hospital in May of 2018. I got pregnant in September. So I hadn't hit the year mark where you qualify for, disability and all kinds. I didn't get that. So it was the grace and mercy of my manager that I was able to keep working, and they were very understanding. But I was scared, and I had to learn to trust God that even if I did lose my job, I was going to be okay. So people always ask me, how are you so strong? How are you still going? And it was only God, because it was a lot that I was taking on. I had the baby, but my blood pressure spiked, like I said in my video. So my feet were swollen. I'm trying to live my best life, and I can't do that when my feet won't fit in my shoes. And my body image changed. And now I'm like, I have all these scars, my legs and feet are swollen. My husband loves to go out. He loves to just, and every time we go out, it includes walking, and I can't walk that far. So I remember he told me in the car one day, he loves being around me. He enjoys my company. He wants to take me everywhere. But he said, sometimes when I do go out, I kind of enjoy it a little bit more, because I don't have to worry about, is Kellee okay? Can Kellee make the walk? And I wanted to feel some type of way about it, but I kind of understood where it's coming from. So that's an example of how it made me feel. And I had to keep relying on God through all of that, because I always felt like, as bad as it was at that moment, it could have been worse. And I felt like God used every situation in my life to just I always say, keep me on my toes, so I don't forget who he is. And even when they mentioned dialysis to me for the first time, I've heard of it, but no one's ever talked to me about it. And I sat in my car and I wanted to cry, but I felt like, you know what, it's going to be okay. I felt like the dialysis, I was gonna be okay through that. So I cried. I mean, who wouldn't cry? At some point throughout this process, you do cry. You get frustrated. I tell my husband this. He cries with me. He holds me. All of that. But I do get mad at God. But I still trusted God. And so this whole process has just taught me to trust God, to rely on God, and more so even with my job, because my husband, he would everyone knows that I could be sick, like arm falling off, legs like coming off, limbs, broken. And I'm still like, I'll go to work. I still need to go to work. Like I have so much trust in my job. Like I have to go to work. I need to go to work. And I've learned to just calm down, relax, let God take control, trust him. And so now I'm like, well, I'm out of work. I can't go to work. It is what it is. So that's where my trust is right now with God. Is right now with God.
Thanks so much. And I know I don't want to make you relieve all of those painful memories, but what is the hardest part of your journey so far? What can you say that was?
To top it off, it would be the loss of my daughter. And that was the hardest part. I felt like my soul was ripped out of me. And I say that because I feel like it goes back to my body and everything I've been through, because I tell my husband this all the time. I feel like I was partially to blame a little bit, because she was underweight. And I feel like that was because of me, because I'm not a big eater. So I didn't eat a lot. And then I was vegetarian. So when I ate, it was filled with protein, and, that would give me the right nutrients. So I felt like I was kind of responsible for that. So that was the hardest part, those two things, her passing, and then thinking, what could I have done differently? Because when you have all these conditions going on, you get nauseous a lot, you get sick, you don't really want to eat. And so that was the hardest part of the entire journey, was losing her. And on top of her being in the NICU for 9 months, to February 14th, 2019 to December 3rd, 2019, I was on dialysis. I had to, so I would go see her in the NICU. So I got off work at 4:30, about that. And then I would get to the hospital, which is about 45 minutes away or so. So like 5, ish, close to 6. I couldn't spend that long with her because guess what? I had to go home and do my dialysis, which I had to start at like 8 or 9 o'clock because it's an 8-hour treatment overnight. And in order for me to get off the machine in time to go to work, and this is called peritoneal dialysis for whoever doesn't know what I'm talking about. In order for me to get off on the machine on time to go to work the next day, I have to get home, be on the machine by like 9 o'clock. So I didn't get that much time with her. And even when I did hemodialysis before that, it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I had to be at the clinic by 6 to get set up so I can get off the machine at 3 in the morning. So I never saw her Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It wasn't until I transitioned to peritoneal dialysis at home. So it was hard to really spend that much time with her. And so that was another thing I had to go through during my journey.
So I feel like I'm listening to you talk about this, and I know you mentioned that it was your trust in God, your faith in God that brought you through. Mercy, I guess if there's anyone else that's watching this and has had those similar life-changing experiences, what were some other things, I guess I am trying to say, that helped pull you through? Because I know Kellee, we used to go to the same church, and even when she moved, thank God for social media, I was still always able to feel like I was still a part of her life. And you've always been so positive. That smile has always been a constant on your face. What practical things did you also do in addition to your relationship with God to help you keep going? Because that one of those things is enough to make people feel stumped. But then you had so many other things happening.
And they were on top of each other. It wasn't separate. They were. It would be my family, my husband. My husband's been, oh my God, he's been amazing. I have a huge family support. His side of the family is supportive, and my family is supportive. They pray for me. I think it was said. I forgot. I'm sorry. You mentioned your family support. When your sister had lupus, it changed the dynamic in your family, and it kind of affected them also. The same thing with me. My parents cried every time they would worry. They basically, everyone started to, I guess, baby me, or they wanted me to sit down, relax, don't do this, don't do that. I kind of enjoyed it a little bit, but everyone, the focus was always on me. My husband was amazing. The machine that I hook up to, the peritoneal dialysis machine, is huge. It's heavy, it's inconvenient. We love to travel, so we're always traveling, and he has to lift that machine up, bring it, put it in the car, get the boxes. He did all of that, and he never complained, and that helped me so much. So it would just go back to family support. They prayed with me, they cried with me. That's really what it falls. And I think the prayers, they prayed a lot. My parents are always praying for me, and they remind me of that every single day. Even now, as good as I am, they're still praying for me all the time. So I think that's amazing. That's kind of where that comes from. And churches, I went to London Church in Queens, New York, and they prayed for me nonstop. My parents have family in Jamaica. They put my name on the prayer list, so they're praying for me. So it's, even when Sky was in the hospital, everyone apparently worldwide was praying for her. So that prayer goes a long way.
That's true. I was about to ask you, when you talk about your husband and how amazing he has been, I wanted to also know what has been the impact of going through all those stages, because how long have you guys been married?
It's gonna be 3 years in September this year. Wow. So we're still young in the game. We're still, babies trying to figure it out.
Maybe on paper, but not by experience.
Yeah,
we have a leg up.
Yes, because I feel like this couple have been married for 10 years, and I think everything that you've been through in such a short amount of time. So, and he was supposed to be your best love as a newlywed.
Exactly. It happened so early on in our marriage. The baby, the health issues, everything happened really early on, and he
So,
was very supportive.
so how did you guys process all of that? And as you as a woman,
Yeah,
did you feel any type of guilt going through that journey?
I
And
I still
and
do. I do. I mean, the guilt is it's I can't put words to it, because you feel like you're holding him back. You feel like he's very adventurous. He loves to go out, he doesn't like to stay inside too long, and he wants me to go with him, and then I get tired. And to be honest, sometimes I have to force myself to put that behind me so I can enjoy myself with him, even when I'm not enjoying and I'm in pain. I try not to let it show. It's not that he wouldn't care. I just don't want to I feel like I robbed him of a lot of things, children included. And I might get teary on this part, because my husband's a family man. He's always wanted a family, and he has a son, but he shares, they part-time, and he co-parents. So when Sky happened, and then he lost her, it was like, will he ever get the family that he wanted? And so now I can have children, I just can't carry. It would, because of the lupus and it affecting my kidney, he doesn't want to risk it. So to get pregnant again is kind of out of the question. So we're just to answer your question, just to answer any questions you may have, we're looking at surrogacy. That's a side note. But I feel guilty on that. I feel guilty that I can't just give him a baby, or I can't carry a child for him. I feel guilty that I'm holding him back and he has to endure all of this. So there's a lot of guilt that I go through with it. And even now, I still feel quite guilty.
And do you feel like you're doing anything to process that guilt and to move forward from that guilt? Because the reality, I feel like you're a survivor. At the end of the day, that's what you are. You fighting it. You learn from it, and you keep moving forward. Are you able to also are you able to appreciate that side of you, the side that we are?
Because we're in awe right now. We're in awe.
For some reason, I know it. I notice it, and I do believe I'm strong for going through it. But I don't know if I don't know how to describe it. It doesn't feel heavy. Like, I don't feel like, I can't, to put it this way, I don't remember a time I've ever just spent a week in bed and been depressed and just couldn't get out of it. And everyone said I needed to see a therapist, and I really have not seen a therapist yet.
That was my question.
I really have not seen a therapist. I think I need to. But I've never had suicidal thoughts. I've never given up on God. I've been mad at God, even recently, but I've never given up. And just, even this weekend, no one knows that when I get hospitalized, I don't air it for every hospitalization. But this weekend, I got a call that I creatinine, which lets you know how well your kidney is doing. It went up. So they wanted me to come in to observe and do a kidney biopsy. So that's where I was last night at the hospital. And I was praying and praying that everything was okay. It wasn't a rejection. But even if it was a rejection, it was early. They could do things to fix it. But it wasn't a rejection. There was nothing wrong with my kidney. God. Perfectly fine. I'm on antibiotics. So that was probably causing it to act up a little bit, but they can fix that. So I'm just kind of waiting. But like I say all I have to say, I mean, I feel like I keep getting hit with different things, but I feel like I'm almost numb to all of it. And that's probably the best way to put it.
And from woman to woman, I would encourage you, and then that's on you. Please talk to a therapist, because honestly, I was the type of girl, me talking to someone, I don't need to.
Yeah.
But I see the benefit, because it's just there's no filter.
Yeah.
And it's just a conversation. You at the end of the day. So I would encourage.
I'm not against therapy. I have done it before for my marriage, and it helped us. I'm not against it. I guess I've never felt so low, and even if I had my low days, it went away, and so I was like, okay, I'm fine. So I never got it.
You don't feel doing it. You haven't felt.
Yeah, I don't know.
I hear you, and I can see it, but because I guess it's more like a maintenance. Sometimes with the car, you don't have to wait for the car to break down in order for you
When you
to
go
go
and
to
see
the.
somebody, yeah,
That's it,
that's
like
the perfect way to put it, actually.
I'm just taking it all in. I'm just in awe of everything that you're saying. And just to be transparent also a little bit, I mean, we don't have the same experience, but
Yeah.
we always have things that makes us reflect. My husband also has an autoimmune disease that he was diagnosed with 6 months after we got married. So, I mean, I'm listening to you, and it's very interesting because being on the other side of the spouse, it makes me understand things like so much better, and it's very like I take it all in for myself, and I would like to know as well. Do you have tips for people who are going through health challenges?
It's pretty much, you got to take one day at a time. You don't, it can be overwhelming, and it's hard to give tips because everyone's tolerance is different.
True.
Like Renee said, people can probably handle one thing at a time, mainly multiple issues at one time. And I always felt like, if God allowed you to go through it, then he believes you can go through it. So tips, I would just say, it's they're all cliche, but just keep trying to look beyond your problem. Like it's just a page in the book. It's not the entire chapter. It's not the entire book. It's just a page. It will get better. It can be a whole lot worse. And it's I think surrounding yourself with positive people and people that will pray for you and encourage you. I think that's also very important. But it's really hard to give tips, just to be quite honest, because not everyone's tolerance is the same.
Yeah, I like what you said, that you have a disease, but the disease doesn't define you.
Exactly. It does not define you. And I mean, a lot of people have like diseases where it shows, it's on their skin and you can tell, but it's funny because those people are the ones that are the most outspoken, the most confident. And when I tell you what I went through, even though you may not be able to tell, it affected my self-esteem and my confidence in the worst way. I was always ashamed of my body. My husband had to give me so many pep talks. And then you have other people who, have the most obvious scars and, missing body parts, and they are just out there living their best life. So it always amazes me that, people just kind of overcome things like that.
Kellee, I promise you this is the last question.
Yeah, you're fine.
But one thing I hope you can leave us with, I think you've spent this whole time filling us with hope, but talk to me, if you would, about how we can stand in the space of as friends and support people who we may know who are battling these health challenges. What are some things that you found helpful when your friends did it? What are some things you wished your friends would have done? And what are some things that did not help at all?
Okay. So I kept, like I said earlier, a lot of if I ever get hospitalized, especially with the smaller hospitalization states, I don't tend to air it out. So a lot of people don't know. So they're not always able to text me and comfort me. And I've had friends who I've known for a long time, and they'll know the bigger issues, like my kidney transplant or a lot, just major issues. And I wouldn't hear from them. So I had to reach out, and then like, oh yeah, I saw that on Facebook. I'm like, okay. Just kind of act normal. Don't, try to, I mean, you can ask questions, especially depending on how close you guys are. It's okay to ask questions. Sometimes, if you want to joke around with it, you can. Just you yourself. Your friends, just be patient. Be patient. If someone says they're tired, they're not lying. They're not making you, just try to understand. even if it means you can't be around them physically. I got a lot of gift cards, a ton, and that helps. So if you want to send a gift card, for food or anything, then that would be good to do. Praying, just trying to keep in touch with them. Because I've had friends tell me, hey, just randomly, hey, I was thinking about you, I was praying for you. And I was like, wow, that really does, like this. And it's the best ones are when they come out of nowhere. They're just spontaneous. You hadn't heard from that person in months. All of a sudden they're like just thinking about you, checking on you. So those, it's just good to check on your friends and just try not to make it too obvious, and don't feel sorry for them. Yes, that's what I would say. Don't, especially if you see them trying their best to do things on their own, and you know don't play they don't want to be the pity, they don't want pity party, is what I should say.
Right. And I have one last question for you.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about your disease and what you've been through. What do you enjoy doing? What are the things that keeps you alive? And
well, let's go back to my husband. I like going on trips. I like traveling. Even during COVID, I travel still. I mean, we don't go internationally, but we have a few trips coming up. And when we go, I like trying new restaurants. So just little things like that. I don't really have hobbies, but I like to cook. So I do like to cook at home. So those type of things.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Kellee, for your presence, for your testimony, and for your strength. That was inspiring and encouraging. Like Marilyn was saying, I'm talking to you while receiving it. It's just a full process here.
There's so much I want to say. There's more I want to say. Get into it deep, but we are time constraint. But I'm open to doing this again.
All right. Heard it.
Right. And even myself, I know sometimes we look people from the outside. You mentioned like people that you see who don't have like lost a body part or things like this. And sometimes you feel like, oh, I can't do it. I can't share my story. But I really encourage you like to really share your story, because it's so beautiful.
Thank you.
There's so much.
My first time doing something like this. I've honestly, my stories keep piling up, and I've never really had a platform or tried to create a platform to share it. Wow. My kidney transplant was probably the first one I ever did, besides when Sky passed or when I gave birth to her. But I've never done anything like this. So it was amazing. It was really
well, it makes us feel even more honored that you allowed us to be that outlet for you. And we're cheering for you. I know God has so much more in store for you. You are such a beautiful soul inside and out.
Thank you.
And we're just all praying for you. We're just all cheering for you. Wow, I don't even have words. But I know, guys, that if you're watching this, you also are touched. I just know it. Feel free to jump in the comment section and just leave words of affirmation and encouragement. And if you have a testimony that you want to share and encourage others too, please feel free to do that. We love you, Kellee. We're praying for you. We're praying for your family. And we are so thankful to our viewers that you have taken time out of your day to kind of sit in this space with us. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and help us be able to have an avenue to share these kind of uplifting stories with others who might be feeling like they're in this alone. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Bye-bye.
She